Good morning, everyone. My name is Maggie. I'm an economic development specialist at the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for joining us virtually this morning. It's really beautiful out in New York, so hope it's beautiful wherever you are. Um, Today we have a really exciting webinar called Get Found This Summer: How to Make AI and Search Engines Recommend Your Business to World Cup Visitors. So I'll keep this intro short. This is part of our webinar series to prepare businesses for taking advantage of summer 2026, which is going to be a huge economic opportunity for businesses because the World Cup 2026 is coming to town, as well as Sailforth 250, which is a series of kind of Fleet Week style parades to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States. So, with that being said, we have two amazing speakers today. So, I will pass it off to our first speaker, Julio Casado from Full Funnel Growth, and he is going to walk us through some tips and strategies for getting found online this summer.
Hey everyone, thank you for being here. My name is Julio, and I am the CEO of Full Funnel Growth. So, Full Funnel Growth is a full stack performance marketing agency. And what that means is primarily we deal with running custom acquisition funnels for e-commerce and lead gen companies. But we've also worked with a lot of brick and mortar businesses. As well as local retail business, taking a lot of the practices that we deploy, nationally and multinationally to how do you win search within a 5 to 10 mile radius. My background is in paid search, as well as SEO. So it's been really interesting to kind of go through these times and see just how dramatically search is changing. And that's really the backdrop to this presentation is to understand how search is changing and how that should change your specific behaviors and tactics that you use to get found. Feel free to jump in and ask questions at any point during the presentation. And yeah, we'll kind of kick it off from there. So I want to start off with a search that I actually completed in preparation for this presentation, but even this morning, and I'm actually going to pull it up and just show it to you all. What bars can I watch FIFA World Cup in West Village? So when we talk about AI search, we truly are talking about all search at this point. Because regardless if you're using a separate platform like ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Claude, or if you're using Google, the reality is that this AI overview now dominates what consumers see. So what we're seeing more of, and what we're going to see as definitive behavior moving forward into the future is people not relying on the blue links, not really going to your website, but looking at what is the AI overview recommending to them and then more than likely diving into maps. And we'll be talking about Google Maps in depth here. But there's a couple of things that I want to call out from what this search results presents. I think the first thing is what it's sourcing. So the great thing about AI is that, you know, before when it comes to Google Blue Links, we didn't really know exactly what drove what to show where in terms of positioning. Of course, we understood keywords, we understood schema markups, and we felt that we could manipulate it, right, to give higher domain authority to really make it so that your business shows up at the number one spot. And we became very good at that over the course of 20, 30 years. AI search is completely different in how it generates and ranks content, but it gives you very specific insights into how it does it. And what you'll see in these sources is a couple of things. First, there's dedicated sources coming from the websites of these bars, right? So the Red Lion, as you can see, is the number one source. And we're going to dive into the why. As part of this presentation, you'll find Yelp, you'll find Houston Hall, Amity Hall, and then Yelp here again. Um, then you'll also find in the top two, when you do get to the blue links, is the Red Lion, and then it's Yelp. So again, I just wanted to kind of show you what this actually looks like. I'll show you another one right here. This is for best local restaurants near Times Square to watch to watch the World Cup with Brazilian fans. Again, AI overview dominates. This particular one also, and look how different these look, right? This goes from AI overview straight to your blue link. This goes from AI overview into your maps and then into your blue link. And that matters. And again, we'll talk about this is your Google Business Profile. We'll talk about the role Google Business Profile plays in getting found. But similarly here, right? You see a lot more external third-party sources being cited. So you're seeing AM New York, Yelp, OpenTable, and then you're jumping into the actual websites of the restaurants. So all of this is can be mapped out by you and can be targeted in your activity, again, to increase the likelihood of you showing up substantially. And we'll go into those tactics in detail today. Um, Before I jump back into the presentation, any questions on kind of what you just saw and or any initial reactions? If not, I will move on. So this is just to kind of set the business case, right? FIFA World Cup and Sailforth 250 are going to be historic tourism coming into the area. Um, this is an opportunity, of course, to increase revenue significantly from a seasonally adjusted perspective, probably when you look compared to last year, because these events weren't happening last year. This is also an opportunity to, again, differentiate yourself because the tactics that you deploy to get found can survive well beyond these two events. So you want to think about both context specific tactics as well as longevity tactics, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But of course, this also can create an opportunity for you to become a staple in your own neighborhood, starting using, bringing people together to watch the World Cup, to celebrate 250, right, can really elevate and again, make you a staple in the neighborhood where people will continue to visit you long after. So there's a lot of the business case is strong for not just conquering this moment, but also the potential longevity effect for your business. And visitors are going to go where AI recommends them. And I think if you take nothing away, please, leave with this. The reality is that this is now how people search. This is how people search for things near them. This is how people search for when they're shopping. This is how people plan for their travels. This is what the tools that people are going to use in order to set their itineraries and figure out how to fill in the gaps in their schedules. So you want to really, really take this as an opportunity to build towards that moment. We have plenty of time. And what you'll see is that the content gap is actually it's there. Not a lot of businesses have started doing this yet. And the few that have are already jumping up to the top. And I'll show you in a second the businesses that have and honestly how simple it is to kind of start doing this. Um, and the key to being found is to be hyper specific, be neighborhood and landmark focused, right? So what are your cross streets? What train stations are you near? What landmarks are you near? If someone queries a MetLife Stadium query, a Times Square query, Salesforce 250, what's going on in the West Village, it's going to return results in that area in a very, very, very narrow radius. So when you're thinking about your content, when you're thinking about describing where you are, you want to be very specific and you want to be hyper local. So, and again, these are the three things that really you should focus on over the next couple of months. So, hyperlocal positioning, your third-party validation. Part of that is making sure all of your listings are updated. So, Yelp, Apple Maps, and then a multitude of 50 plus listings that you may have never thought of. And we'll talk about the tools to help you identify all of those listings. Your Google reviews, Reddit. Are you being recommended in local media? Local media has seen a resurgence because of AI search. So those small publications that only post in your neighborhood, those small newsletters that only post in your neighborhood are very, very, very important. Those are high credible sources and are used to cite and mention stores, restaurants, bars, especially when people are searching within a specific neighborhood. And then the last thing is just having new and fresh content for the moment. That's going to help you also get surfaced on different queries. So here are all the things that you can and you should do with your Google Business Profile. And I'm going to go through each one of these. These are hyper specific tactics that you should be getting started on right after this presentation. So first and foremost is your business description. If you have a Google Business Profile, I'm sure you've all already completed your business description, but go back and take a look and add in landmark, geography, direction related copy into it. So you can say things like, we are located on the corner of 8th Avenue and West 49th Street, a 4-minute walk from Hell's Kitchen. That is very, very valuable when it comes to people searching, what is, is there a clothing store near me that I can buy X, Y, and Z? Right? When you fit these type of directional related copy into your descriptions, it greatly increases your ability to show up when people query in your neighborhood. The next thing is posts. So as you know, you can post updates to your Google Business Profile. They tend to disappear in 7 days, but event posts stay until the event. So if you're having a watch party, post it now. You can also post coffee before this game as an event. You don't have to have a formal watch party. You can say literally grab coffee with Brazilian fans before the Brazil, Panama game, right? Start looking at the matchups now and start creating events around those matchups, in between matchups, you know, lunch at stuff in between, Group A and Group B, right? Those event posts are index. They are cited and mentioned by all AI engines. And again, you post them now, they're going to stay in perpetuity until the day of the event itself. So this is a great and a really, really easy way to already start building your content that gets cited. Um, your services and product descriptions, again, these are index text fields. So you want to use natural language and you want to update your services and product descriptions to offer um, offer directional copy. But also if you have a ton of TVs, add the service watching the game, right? Build product descriptions around those kind of things. If you can name, if you name a cup of coffee after a team or something like that, right? Add that as a product with the description. This cup of coffee is in celebration of, you know, X nation being in the World Cup. Like that kind of copy actually matters and goes a really long way. Um, Review responses. Start looking through now and responding to your reviews, especially if it's a review of the extent of, I stopped by here quickly on my way to the Flatiron building and I really loved the service, et cetera, et cetera. Just respond and say, hey, thank you for stopping by on the way to the Flatiron building. That was great. What does that do? That associates you next to this important landmark, right? And when people search for, hey, I'm looking for a coffee shop near the Flatiron Building, you're going to show up because you're adding in content and context to the AI search engines that you're near it. Um, photos, photos of landmarks, photos of street corners. It's ideal if you can get your storefront in the photo but not necessarily, right? So you can sneak a couple of them in there of like literally grab the street corner signs, right? On the corner of X and X. That again gives the context for AI to kind of connect you to those specific neighborhoods. Um, we talked about your other owned listings, and we'll go into this in terms of the actual tool that can help you with this, but you want to make sure that your name, your address is consistent across every single one of your listing. And it's very easy to do. Before it was cumbersome, you had to go into each one. But now there's a tool called Bright Local, and a lot of other similar tools, to be honest, that lets you do this. But this is it's called NAP consistency, and this is a big leg up that any business that takes the care to have these things consistent across all their listings, they really have a leg up across other businesses where, there's like small variations in names that can really mess us up. Even like having an and versus not having an and, having an LLC versus not having an LLC, having an old number somewhere, right? Having an old website or not the same URL that you're using. Those little inconsistencies add up across multiple listings, and it can certainly have an impact on your how often you search or how often you come up during search. The last two is completeness in your feeds. So Ask Maps has replaced the old Q&A section. I don't know if you all have seen that, but the reality is that now if people want to query your business from within the Maps kind of page or app, they're using Ask Maps. And Gemini uses your website, your reviews, and all of the data that you fed into Google Business Profile in order to generate answers for people searching for your business. Um, I think I just saw a comment pop up. Okay, okay. And then multilingual signals. So if your staff speaks other languages, include it, right? If you serve, and we'll talk actually a little bit more about language as a competitive advantage. But again, this is a big one. It's definitely if your staff speaks other languages and is comfortable serving people in another language, we're having people from all over. I mean, we always have people from all over the world, but we really are having people from all over the world come, and they're going to be querying in their language. They're not going to be querying in English, and they're going to be looking for places they feel comfortable in. We'll talk more about multilingual towards the end of this, but this is definitely, it's the last one, but it's also a very important one. Any questions here before I continue? All right, so we talked about NAP consistency, right? This is just making sure that the way your business is named, your phone number, your address, just everything is consistent across all your listings, Apple, Yelp, Google being the big ones, but you'll be amazed about how many smaller like publications and websites your business is likely listed in, and it may have your information all wrong. So again, a great tool for this is Bright Local, super affordable, really easy to manage. So, highly recommend you kind of just getting in that platform. They probably offer a free trial. I think they offer a free trial. And that, at the very least, allows you to run an audit to see where your name might be different. Your second one is a little bit more technical. It's called your schema markup. So if you think about your sitemap, right, your sitemap tells Google where all your content is. Your schema markup describes to AI what your content is about. And this is a very important thing to do across all websites. There actually is a local business schema, which allows you to describe your business. Essentially, everything you put in Google Business Profile, you can put on the back end layer of your website, describe your business, give your address, talk about where it is, what you offer. And that is a huge trust signal to AI when it's crawling and scraping different websites to kind of quickly understand, okay, this business is relevant. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the actual content. Schema markup can be easy or difficult depending on your CMS. So if you're on WordPress, right? If you're on Wix, if you're on Squarespace, or if your website's custom built, the ability to implement schema markup is going to look different across. But my recommendation is to first start with Google Rich Results test. And literally just type in Google Rich Results, drop in your URL, and it's going to tell you what your schema markup currently is. If it's blank, you definitely want to get on this. Again, it's not hard. It is technical, but it's not hyper difficult. So I think your first step is just identifying whether your schema markup is in place. We talked about this, right? So again, just visitors search by neighborhoods and landmarks, right? Not by addresses. So what are they looking for? Where do they want to go experiencing it? Both of those come together in queries. So that's why it's important to anchor yourself around neighborhoods, around landmarks. Be specific, right? Give directional context. 10 minutes from Union Square Park, right? 5 minutes from over here, 7 minutes from over there, walking. All of that is hypercritical for just making sure, again, that you're the one to surface when people query for your business offering. And first time movers, now is the time to start a lot of this. And let me kind of go back to my examples and show you why. Um, So here, Red Lion is the first one that popped up, and they popped up here. Yes, Red Lion, well-established spot, but the reality is simply because they put up this page. The best bar in New York City to watch the World Cup 2026, schedule coming soon. That's all they did. And now they're in the West Village query, they're the number one bar showing up. It's not being done yet. So you get first, you're in a real position of first movers advantage of doing these tactics, getting in your content, and starting to show up. Here's another example, and I really like this one. But Three West Club, restaurants for FIFA Cup, restaurants for FIFA Cup. This is a little bit old school, local SEO, right? Creating essentially what is a landing page with the relevant keywords, but they're doing it in the right way for today's search because they're not really talking about their restaurant. They're not like just straight up saying, come to us. They're more so saying, right, start your morning by a nearby cafe. They're writing it as if they're just helpful guide, explaining to you, here's how you want to experience Manhattan, eating, right, sightseeing during the FIFA World Cup. So it's very casual. Then they're kind of ending it, for those searching for memorals, all steps from your hotel, book now. On this page, I honestly don't even see them reference. Um, well, they talk about when staying at Three West Club, but they're not 100% right talking about you have to come stay with us or you even have to eat here. So top restaurant experiences to enjoy during the FIFA Cup, right? Not why experiencing FIFA Cup here is the best decision for you, but what are you looking for in general? Again, very general, very helpful. This is bullet point driven. It's answering what people are likely going to search for. Where's it lively with big screens? What's premium, what's a little bit more casual, right? It's kind of covering on family friendly, right? It's covering all the bases for the user, and this gives them a higher likelihood of showing up. I don't remember exactly what query I did where they came up first, but they did come up first when I did. I think it was a Midtown query and they came up first. So again, there's just not a lot of restaurants, bars, or just businesses in general. This can apply to a clothing store, right? This can apply to any local business. Not many of them are doing this. So it's wide open right now for you all to jump in and do this content. Um, So just back to the presentation. So yes, so layer one is the keywords, and we saw that with Redline. Just a headline, FIFA World Cup, schedule coming soon, nothing else. It's just the keywords, right? They're listed first. Layer two is the content page. That was Three West Club, right? It's a full content page. It's a helpful guide. It's providing information, and they're the provider of that information. So huge jump up when it comes to being shown. Um, Number three is external placements. So PR, local PR is very important again when it comes to AI search. it is critical that and you don't have to go after the New York Times, right? You can go after your local press, your local newsletters, your local organizations. It becomes a lot more affordable, a lot more approachable, and easier to get a placement. And that really is your goal in local guides, in roundup articles, in anything that you're being mentioned in connection to a specific neighborhood, specific landmark. That is how you kind of round out your offering, and again, greatly increase your ability to be found. Right now, Salesforce 250, nothing's coming up, at least from what I'm querying when it comes to local businesses. So again, huge opportunity. If you're doing anything for Salesforce 250, if you have memorabilia that you're selling, if you have a 250 hoodie that you're selling, now's the time to start talking about it. Post about it, create a page about it. The longer your content is live, the more credibility is going to have, and the more likely you are to show up number one. So we looked at Three West Club, and again, write content like a helpful neighbor, not like a marketing department. It's not a pitch, and you're not trying to sell people. You're trying to genuinely tell them how to go about the neighborhood. And for all of us that own brick and mortar businesses, we know our neighborhoods. Who better to tell a tourist coming in, hey, here's my favorite spot to go do this. Here's where I go watch the game. Go take a seat at this park on this bench, right? And then come grab a sandwich over at my shop, right? Like you want to make it in a way that people find it's useful and find it's helpful, because to be quite frank, it's not only just about what the person is looking, but what AI is looking, and it's looking for content that's less salesy and more help as a helpful guide. So just something to consider there. And lastly, just to close off on this slot, you all are the best people to write this. You have your businesses, you're in your neighborhoods, you've been in your neighborhoods for years and years and years. Take that as an opportunity and write that out. Speak that, use that content, and it's a huge competitive advantage for you. This goes a little bit more advanced, but it's highly recommended. You saw Red Lion, you saw Three West Club. They kind of just had a content page. I do recommend for everyone to start thinking about now building out an extensive FAQ library for two reasons. The first reason being that your Google Business Profile has taken away the Q&A section. So it's relying on FAQs on your website to kind of take the place of Q&A when people are using the Ask Maps function. Um, so that's number one. Number two is that this also serves as a content page, right? So it helps you kind of hit both Google Business Profile optimization and content page. So there's four levels of an FAQ, right? You start broad, you get specific, hyper specific, and procedural. And this shouldn't be only about FIFA. Your broad should be about you, your business, what you all do. Specific can start layering in more into neighborhoods. Then you can have your own separate FAQs for FIFA, for World Cup, and for Salesforce 250. That's when you get into levels 3 and level 4, because what you want to be able to do is sunset those or archive those, but the strength of your FAQs about your business remain. So this is something I would strongly recommend you start thinking about now. If you have FAQs on your website, great. Build those out. If you don't have FAQs at all on your website, start designing those out, because it's going to be important for you to get those on. Um, and what I have here is just a 90-day action plan. Maggie, assuming that we can send this presentation out, I've just provided as much details as I can. This isn't necessarily a great presentation slide, but I have it here for you to kind of read through. Again, start with your Google Business Profile. I'm assuming everyone has it. If you don't, of course, get one, but get that filled out. Run your own AI visibility, right? So see if you pop up. Search for yourself in ways, long form query questions, and see if you pop up on Google, but then run it on GPT and run it on Perplexity as well, and see what the differences are. and then take note of the sources, right? You're going to see a lot of websites, you're going to see a lot of Yelp, but AM New York, right? Start looking at what are those local publications and then go pitch them, right? Give them an opportunity to surface your business. Um, won't go through all of this, but want to call out your dedicated events. You know, again, grab coffee here before this match, make it an event post. That's going to live from now until that event actually happens. And then lastly, create your content pages and create your FAQs. Uh, I'm running out of time, so I do want to just say really quickly, I highly, highly, highly recommend you translate your website. That sounds like a big undertaking, and it's not. There is a fantastic service I've used with clients called Weglot, Weglot. It is very affordable for small businesses that don't have big content-heavy websites, and it allows you to professionally translate your website. That is creating an entire index version. So not just using Translate on Google, right, which is surface translates, it doesn't actually get indexed. It creates an entire index version of your website. Have it up during this. You can choose to take it down after. It's completely up to you. But there is a lot of advantage, especially in a city like New York City, to have websites in different languages. Um, the reality is that people search in their own language. That doesn't necessarily mean AI will search for content in that language. The reality is that AI is still going to rely primarily on English sources and then just translate the answers. But it does bring in other language sources a lot more easily and readily when the person is querying in that specific language. So this is a kind of like last part rounding everything out type effort. I don't think it's, what's gonna take you from B to A. But I do think it's really, really easy to do. And I also think that not a lot of people are gonna do it. So again, if you're looking for your edge, if you're looking for different competitive advantage, this is an opportunity here. Use Weglot, Weglot, translate your website, and right come up when people search in that language. So that's really it. I know that a lot of content here, but again, to execute on these things is just about setting the plan and going right? Checking everything off the list one at a time. It's not difficult. It does require a certain level of project management. There are some pieces that are more technical. But again, even if you're not able to do all of it, if you're able to do the core Google Business Profile updates, a content page, and pitching a local publication, those three things will probably take you 70 to 80% of the way there. For other resources, there's the Summer of Opportunity Guide, created by the Summer Opportunity Coalition. It is a fantastic resources when it comes to local permits for watching and things like that. Of course, created by the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. Highly recommend pulling that. That is something that's going to help you prepare for the moment. The Live NYC map. Again, talking about NAP consistency, make sure your business is listed there with the correct name. And then Game Ready NYC as well, another resource available for you all to prepare for the summer. Um, and that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Julio. That was amazing. I've learned a lot through that. Really important information, and the action plan is also really, really helpful. We are going to save some time for questions at the end. You did mention a couple resources that the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce um, has shared, so I will also talk about more about those at the end. So stay tuned for that. I'll be dropping those links in the chat shortly. But for now, I also want to pass it over to our next guest speaker, Devin Wallace from FistServe, and we're going to talk a little bit about financing. Shift gears slightly.
It's nice to meet everybody. My name's Devin Wallace. I work with Clover Merchant Services. I just wanted to briefly speak with you guys about lending and making sure you have the correct capital for the busy times that the FIFA World Cup is going to bring for your businesses. All right, so real quick, Clover Capital overview is Clover Capital is not really a direct loan, but it's more of a cash advance product. So it's based on your future credit and debit card sales. So when you're processing, say, around $10,000 per month on average, you're able to get a cash advance of $10,000. There's no fixed terms. There's no interest rate. There's no fixed payments. It's not like a personal loan or a business loan at all. You could use the funding however you choose. You could use it for business purpose, personal expenses, however you like. Approval is really quick. You get it within 1 to 2 business days. And again, it is for just however you would like to receive funds. It's if you wanted $10,000, $20,000, $5,000. It's very easy to get kind of however much funding you need. And so for businesses that are looking to get all set up for FIFA, if you're looking to get more staffing, more inventory, upgrade your systems, do whatever you kind of need to do, it's just an easy way to get quick capital that you need to buy whatever you may need for. The advance amounts change from 500 to anywhere to 500,000 depending on your kind of needs. And we kind of handle everything on our end. So how does it work? You just quickly apply. You get qualified within 1 to 2 business days, like I said before, and you just pretty much go from there. And so who's qualified is pretty much anybody that's been in business for at least 6 months. You don't need to be processing with Clover for those entire 6 months. You just need to have processing sales from any merchant services you guys have been using. But to be eligible for the Clover Capital product, to get the funding, you would need to sign up with Clover. Here's just a list of a few things that would make you unqualified, but it's very easy. Like I said before, we have an 85% acceptance rate, whereas personal loans or business loans from the bank are somewhere below 10%, or it's just a much easier process to get the capital that you may need. And like I was saying before, it's not a loan. It's kind of just a quick cash advance. Here's kind of a stat sheet as well as pretty much what the overview is saying before. Okay, when you first sign up, there's no credit check. It's a soft credit pull on just to kind of see if you've had any merchant fraud or anything. That would be really the only reason that you were not able to get the funding. When you get pre-approved, you just get your offer sent to you. You could pick from a few different options of your payout, how you would like to pay out, and the amount funding that you need. And let's see what else. Let's go back to the overview. How this process kind of works for the overview. Again, just going back, it's just a cash advance on your future sales. I think that kind of wraps up my brief overview of it. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. I know I kind of ran through that fast, so I didn't know that this was going to be the presentation. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Devin. Yeah, I think maybe you can stop sharing your screen and then we can open up the floor to questions to both you and Julio at this point. Perfect. I see there is definitely some comments in the chat, which is great. But if you have a question, feel free to come off mute. We'll give it a few minutes, see if anyone wants to.
Hi, I have a question. My name is Chef Andrea with Sweet Vegan. Thank you both for your great presentations. There's a lot to do, Julio. I appreciate getting the slides. Can you make sure we get the slides at the end? Because that would be so helpful to review everything. And could you also put in chat the information about the translation? Was it WEG something or other? I wrote it down.
Yeah, for sure.
Weglot?
Weglot is the translation services, and
Okay.
then Bright Local is your NAP
Okay.
consistency services.
And if we wanted to bring somebody on to just give us a little more in-depth look at things, is there anybody that's going to be available possibly to work as a consultant with us just for a few hours to make sure that we're doing everything that we need to do, kind of like a check-in? Would you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, definitely. And again, quite frankly, it's a very approachable and affordable way to do this. If you have like an intern, um, like I would be happy to just guide them on the completion of the work and do the Q&A. That's normally how I work with local businesses because it's again, the work is not technically difficult as long as it's well project managed, and someone understands, right, exactly what they need to complete. If you don't have an intern, you can hire an intern just for this moment. I have a really wide network of kind of young marketing talent that's looking for opportunities. You can hire them part-time, hourly, put them just to focus on this, and they'll be able to complete this work for you. So, um, happy to kind of connect after the fact. Maggie, I can kind of share the presentation and my information with you all. And yeah, we can, have the conversation from there.
I think that sounds great, and I appreciate those ideas. Those are invaluable to a small company like ours, where we're trying to do so many things and wear so many hats. And this is an important one. So this is great. Thank you, both of
No,
you.
for sure.
Yes, we will follow up via email with the slides from both presentations as well as their contact information so you can follow up directly. Any other questions? I see one in the chat from Imani. I will read Imani's questions out loud. So, as a small business who doesn't have a storefront yet, would you recommend creating an event? And what are the best ways to drive local foot traffic to your website? That's for Julio.
Okay, so you don't have a storefront yet. So does that mean that your services or your products are sold out of other locations?
I don't know if Imani, are you there? I see she's not. So I do know Imani's business, and sometimes she does sell out of other retail storefronts. But I do believe she has e-commerce as well. So
Oh,
maybe
okay.
you could answer for the purposes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
e-commerce looks very, very different. And again, e-commerce is like, the kind of main world that I come from. Your tactics are going to be not as hyper local. You're, fighting against companies in a wide variety of ranges, but there are ways to kind of find very specific niches and pockets for you to be able to come up on search, and sell your products, using a kind of online funnel. So I would need to know a lot more about your specific business. I think for when it comes to you selling out of other stores physically, you can use a lot more of these tactics and just create events on platforms like Eventbrite, Partyful, and anything like that. And that actually jumps up your SEO rankings and you do get found pretty easily. So you can do that with that. And when it comes to, again, ecom, happy to have a conversation and share any ideas, once I have a little bit more information about your business.
Thanks, Julio. Any other questions for our speakers? Okay, let me share my screen and go through some resources we have for you all for this summer. And it might take a second because Zoom always glitches for me. So I'll start my intro. But so I mentioned this at the top of this webinar. We created the Summer of Opportunity Coalition, which is a group of organizations that are all invested in how do we drive foot traffic to small businesses for summer 2026. So Julio actually mentioned a few of the resources, but we created what we're calling the Summer of Opportunity Guide. And it has operational strategies for managing high tourist traffic. It identifies some key neighborhoods that might see increased foot traffic, especially based on the match schedule. I think you can see my screen now. It has kind of high level marketing tips and tricks. It kind of explains the type of tourists we will be coming to the city, the types of preferences and purchasing habits they might have. And then it also has kind of just a condensed list of what some free promotion opportunities and resources are, to help you really amplify your business, to show up in search. And it also has just the key dates and key information about both of the major events. So if you're looking for a starting point, I'd recommend just kind of reviewing that fairly quickly. And the next thing I want to shout out is our Live NYC map that Julio also mentioned. So this is a digital interactive map that is going to highlight small businesses that are doing anything for FIFA World Cup or Sailforce 250. So if you are a bar and you're going to be screening the game, let us know. If you have maybe have a waterfront property or you're very close to the waterfront, that then you'd be a prime candidate for letting us know you're going to host the Sailforth 250 like viewing of the parade or something like that. You might just have a discount or a promotion for the summer, or if you're planning an event, let us know. This is another way to get you online, your information online, and make it come up in search. And we'll also be promoting this digital map to tourists as well. Um, and yeah, so feel free, you can scan the QR code and I'll put the link in the chat. We'll also follow up via email. But once you figure out what your plans are for the summer, this is another way to kind of get visibility. And then lastly, I'll just plug, we have a couple more webinars that we are planning for the summer. So the next one is on March 16th, and it is all about compliance. So we are partnering with the Department of Small Business Services, their kind of compliance readiness team called NYC Best. And they are going to lead us through a webinar on kind of key things to be prepared for if you have a retail storefront, things you should be doing now ahead of the summer. So join us for that. And then we also will have a webinar on April 27th explaining more details about the Live NYC map I just mentioned. And we're hoping to have another webinar on how to really host and have like in-store activations and experiences for customers this summer. So stay tuned. All of those are on our website. They're all free and open to the public. So yeah, I think that's the rundown of all of our resources. So I'm going to put those links in the chat. And like I said, we'll also follow up via email. We do have 10 more minutes, so I'll pause briefly to see if anybody else has any additional questions for our speakers or me. I'm hearing crickets, so I think we might be able to wrap up. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much to Julio and Devin for the really valuable information you shared, and to Nadia and Caroline for helping us run this.